I took a slow sip of water, watching condensation drip down the glass. The beach house in question, my beach house, sat on 2 acres of prime oceanfront property in Newport Beach, a $12.5 million estate I'd purchased after 3 years of careful planning and strategic investment. Marcus worked so hard at the bank, Mom continued, her voice taking on that familiar guilt-inducing tone. Vice President at 35, 3 beautiful children, and Sarah's expecting again. They really need the space. I set my glass down carefully. Mom, that's my home. I bought it myself. With what money? Marcus scoffed from across the table. Everyone knows tech support doesn't pay that well. He adjusted his Rolex Dad's retirement gift to him, and shared a knowing look with Mom. For 6 years, they'd believed I worked basic IT at a small startup. It was easier that way. Let them think I was the family underachiever while I built something real, something they couldn't interfere with or try to control. The point is, Dad interjected, your brother has a growing family. You're single working that little computer job. Be reasonable, son. I studied my father's face. The same man who'd pushed Marcus into banking because that's where real men make their fortunes. The same man who dismissed my interest in software development as playing with computers. The house isn't for sale, I said quietly. Mom's fork clattered against her plate. This isn't about selling. This is about family. Marcus can't afford that neighborhood yet on his salary, but you somehow got lucky with that property. It's time to think about what's right. Lucky, that's what they always assumed. Pure luck that their underachieving younger son had managed to buy a beachfront property. Not the fact that my little computer job had evolved into quantum security solutions, now valued at $4.7 billion. Not the 3 patents that had revolutionized cybersecurity. Not the 80-hour weeks I'd pulled while Marcus was bragging about his corner office. I've thought about it, I replied, maintaining my calm. The answer is no. This is exactly your problem. Alexander, Dad's voice rose sharply. Always been selfish. Your brother's given this family nothing but pride. Vice President at First Capital, respected in the community. What have you done, except hide in your little tech job, and somehow stumble into property you don't deserve? I felt my phone vibrate in my pocket. Probably another alert about Marcus's gambling debts. The ones I'd been quietly covering for the past year through shell companies to protect Mom and Dad from the truth. The ones that would destroy his perfect image if they ever came to light. The beach house is mine, I repeated firmly. I worked for it. I earned it. Marcus laughed, that same dismissive laugh he'd used since we were kids. Earned it, please. We all know you must have gotten lucky with some tech stock or cryptocurrency nonsense. Real success comes from actual work, little brother. Like what I do. I thought about the USB drive in my pocket. The one containing security footage from the Bellagio showing exactly how Marcus spent his business trips to Vegas. The credit card statements. The threatening emails from loan sharks. The evidence of him embezzling from his own clients to cover his tracks. Speaking of work, Marcus continued, cutting into his steak with practiced precision. Sarah's already planning how to redecorate. The kids need a proper playroom, so that ridiculous home office of yours will have to go. We'll need the keys by next weekend. Mom beamed. That's wonderful. Alexander, see how much thought they've put into this. This is what family means. I pushed my chair back slowly. I have a meeting in 20 minutes. But before I go, let me be very clear. The beach house is mine. Marcus isn't getting it. End of discussion. You ungrateful little. Dad started to rise, but Mom put a hand on his arm. Alexander James Davidson. She used my full name, her voice trembling with disapproval. Your brother has provided for this family. He's given us grandchildren. He's upheld the Davidson name while you've hidden away with your computers. You owe him this. I stood up, straightening my jacket, the same Brioni suit I'd worn to sign my company's latest acquisition. I don't owe anyone anything, and Marcus should focus on his own finances instead of trying to take my property. Marcus's face reddened. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing, I replied calmly, just making an observation. You know what? Marcus pushed back from the table. This is ridiculous. Dad, we should just call James at the bank. Get the property assessed. Force a sale through legal channels. Alexander clearly doesn't understand family obligations. I almost smiled. James Anderson, Marcus's go-to banker for his schemes. The same James Anderson, who now worked for one of my shell companies, documenting every questionable transaction Marcus had ever made. That won't be necessary, I said, checking my actual Rolex, not a gift, but bought with my first million. The house isn't under any bank's jurisdiction. It's fully paid for. Impossible. Marcus sputtered. That property's worth at least 12 million. 12.5. I corrected quietly, plus another million in renovations. The table fell silent. I could see the calculations happening behind their eyes. Even in their wildest dreams of my luck, they'd assumed I'd mortgaged myself to the hilt. Alexander. Mom's voice had shifted to concern now. What have you gotten yourself into? If you're involved in something illegal. Really, Mom? That's your first assumption. I pulled out my phone, checking the time. I have to go, but since you're all so interested in my property, why don't we meet tomorrow? I'll have my lawyer present everything you need to see. Lawyer? Dad scoffed. Since when do you have a lawyer? Since I needed one to manage my assets. I replied. Bring Marcus's bank statements. Should make for an interesting discussion. Marcus's fork clattered to his plate. What are you talking about? Tomorrow 2 p.m. My office. Your tech support desk, you mean? Marcus tried to sneer, but I caught the tremor in his voice. No, my actual office. I'll text you the address. I turned to leave, then paused. Oh, and Marcus, maybe don't make any large purchases tonight. Your cards might not work. I walked out, leaving them in stunned silence. As I reached my car, not the modest Honda they thought I drove, but the Aston Martin I'd kept in a private garage, my phone buzzed again. Another alert, Marcus trying to access his emergency credit line. The one I'd quietly bought and frozen an hour ago. Tomorrow would change everything. 6 years of carefully maintained appearances would finally end. The truth about Marcus's gambling. About my success. About who really supported this family. It would all come out. I started the engine, enjoying its quiet purr. My little computer job had done more than buy a beach house. It had built an empire. And tomorrow my family would finally understand exactly what their underachiever had become. The drive to my real office took 20 minutes. Not the startup they thought I worked for, but the gleaming 40-story building, downtown that housed Quantum Security Solutions. My security badge. Not a visitor's pass or contractor's card, but the CEO's private elevator access, took me straight to the top floor. Sarah, Marcus's wife, was waiting in my office, not the cheerful, entitled woman who appeared at family dinners, but the worried wife who'd come to me 3 months ago when she discovered the extent of Marcus's gambling. They're still planning to take the house, she said without preamble. Marcus called his lawyer the moment you left. I loosened my tie, settling behind my desk. I know, the lawyer called me right after. You what? I own his firm, I explained, pulling up the security footage from dinner on my laptop. Every angle, every conversation, all perfectly captured. Just like I own the bank Marcus works for, the real estate agency he's planning to contact, the credit cards he's trying to use right now. Sarah sank into a chair. All this time, you've been protecting him, protecting us, family obligations, I said quietly, using Mom's own words. But it's time for things to change. The children's college funds, her voice trembled. Safe, in a trust he can't touch. I set it up the day you came to me. Tears welled in her eyes. Why didn't you tell them? All these years, letting them think. Because Marcus needed to hit bottom naturally. If I'd stepped in openly, he'd never learn. But now, I showed her my phone screen. Another alert, Marcus trying to book a flight to Vegas. Now he's out of options. Tomorrow everything changes. They'll hate you for this, she whispered. Exposing him. Exposing everything. Maybe. I agreed. But sometimes love means doing the hard thing. Marcus needs help. Not another property to leverage for gambling money. The kids need a stable future. Not a father drowning in debt. And Mom and Dad, I sighed, they need to understand that success doesn't always wear a banker's suit. Sarah stood, smoothing her dress. I'll have the kids' bags packed. Just in case. The guest house at the beach is ready, I assured her. Everything you need will be there. Marcus can join you once he completes the program. The rehabilitation program you found. The one I bought, I corrected gently. Best in the country. It's been waiting for him for months. She reached the door, then turned back. Alexander, thank you for everything. After she left, I stood at my office window, looking out over the city. Somewhere down there, Marcus was probably calling in every favor he could think of, not realizing each call went straight to a company I owned. Mom and Dad were likely still at the dinner table, trying to understand what had happened to their predictable family dynamic. My phone buzzed one final time. A message from Marcus. Whatever you think you know, you've got nothing. Tomorrow you'll give me that house, or I'll show everyone what you really are. I smiled slightly, thinking of the evidence waiting in my safe. The documentation of every bet, every loan, every threat he'd received. The proof of how far I'd gone to protect him, to protect all of them. Looking forward to it, big brother. I typed back. Looking forward to it. Tomorrow the carefully constructed facade would crumble. The truth would finally emerge about the Davidson family's real success story. And maybe, just maybe, it would save the brother who'd spent his life trying to prove he was better than me. I picked up my private line and dialed. Janet, move tomorrow's board meeting to 3 p.m. I have a family matter at 2, and call the PR team. We're going to need them for some damage control. It was time to show them exactly what playing with computers had built. The next day, at exactly 1:58 p.m., my family walked into the lobby of Quantum Security Solutions. I watched them through the security feeds, Mom smoothing her best dress, Dad straightening his tie, and Marcus in his standard banker's suit, looking increasingly unsettled, as they were escorted past the QSS logo dominating the marble wall. Sir, my assistant Thomas buzzed through. Your family is here, and Mr. Davidson, your brother, tried to access the building earlier this morning through the parking garage. Of course he did, probably hoping to find something he could use against me before the meeting. Show them in, Thomas. The door opened, and their expressions shifted from confusion to shock as they took in my corner office. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the city. Modern art worth millions adorned the walls, and my desk, a single piece of sculpted glass, faced the downtown skyline. What is this? Dad demanded, recovering first. Where are we? My office, I replied simply. Standing. The real one. Marcus's eyes darted around, taking in the details. The awards on the walls, the technology seamlessly integrated into every surface, the subtle displays of wealth that made his banker's salary look like pocket change. Welcome to Quantum Security Solutions. I gestured to the chairs arranged before my desk. Please sit. You work here? Mom asked hesitantly. Not exactly. I pressed a button, and the wall behind me transformed into a digital display showing the company's global operations. I own it. Marcus laughed, but it sounded hollow. Right. The biggest cybersecurity firm in the country is run by my little brother who plays with computers. I pulled up a news article from last month. Quantum Security Solutions CEO, Alexander Davidson, closes $2.80 billion defense contract. Then another, QSS market value, exceeds $4.70 billion under Davidson's leadership. This is impossible, Dad whispered. Is it? I turned to face them fully. Remember when I was wasting time coding in the basement? I was building the encryption algorithm that became our core product. While Marcus was getting his MBA, I was filing patents. When you were bragging about his vice presidency, I was buying his bank. Marcus shot to his feet. You're lying. Sit down, I said quietly. We haven't even gotten to the interesting part yet. Alexander, Mom's voice shook. I don't understand. All these years, I let you believe what you wanted to believe. It was easier that way. But now, since you're so interested in my property and my finances, let's have complete transparency. I opened a folder on my desk. Let's start with you, Marcus. Shall we discuss your gambling debts, the money you've embezzled from clients, the threats from loan sharks? His face went white. How did you? I own the casinos you visit, the banks you borrow from, the credit cards you max out. For the past year, I've been covering your tracks, protecting mom and dad from knowing their golden child was drowning in debt. That's enough. Dad stood up, face red. Whatever game you're playing. No games. I cut him off, pulling up security footage on the screen. Here's Marcus at the Bellagio last month, losing $300,000 in one night. Here he is, threatening a loan shark, who coincidentally works for one of my subsidiaries. Here are the transfer records showing him stealing from client accounts. Mom started crying. Marcus looked like he might vomit. The beach house you want so badly, I continued. That's not just my home. It's part of a real estate portfolio worth over $100 million. The little computer job you've mocked for years. It's revolutionized military-grade encryption. That luck you assumed I had. Try 15 patents and contracts with every major government agency. Why? Mom wiped her eyes. Why didn't you tell us? Would you have believed me? You never did before. I turned to Marcus. I've been protecting you, brother, keeping your secrets, paying your debts, but now you want my house. Now you threaten me. Marcus slumped in his chair. I didn't know. No, you didn't. None of you did. Because it was easier to believe I was the family failure than to accept that success doesn't always look like you expect it to. I pressed another button, and the screens filled with financial records. Marcus owes $4.2 million to various creditors. He's stolen $1.7 million from clients. His gambling addiction has escalated to the point where he's betting his children's college funds. My babies, Mom whispered. They're safe, I assured her. I've been watching out for them too. Sarah came to me 3 months ago when she discovered the truth. The kids' money is in a trust Marcus can't touch. Dad's hands were shaking. All this time, yes, while you were praising Marcus's career and pitying my computer hobby, I built this. While you were planning to take my house, I was saving your son from prison. Prison? Marcus's voice cracked. What did you think would happen? I asked quietly. The embezzlement alone carries a 15-year sentence. But I've taken care of it. Replaced the stolen money. Cleared the paper trail. On one condition. What condition? Dad asked. I pulled out a folder. Marcus checks into rehabilitation tomorrow. The best facility in the country, which I happen to own. He gets the help he needs, or everything goes public. His choice. You can't. Marcus started. I can. I will. Because this isn't about punishing you, brother. It's about saving you. Sarah and the kids will stay in my guest house while you're in treatment. Your job will be waiting when you're better, though you'll be closely monitored. Your debts will be cleared. Why? Marcus whispered. Why would you do all this? Because you're my brother. Because those kids deserve a healthy father. Because mom and dad deserve to be proud of both their sons, not just the one wearing a tie. I stood up, walking to the window. The beach house isn't for sale. It never was. But there's a property down the street, similar size, better view. Once you're clean, once you've proven yourself, it's yours. A fresh start. Mom was openly sobbing now. Dad looked years older. Marcus sat in stunned silence. Now, I turned back to them. Would anyone like to see what their underachieving son really built? The next hour was a blur of revelations. I showed them the company's global reach, the technological innovations, the real estate empire. With each disclosure, their understanding of who I was, who I'd always been, shifted dramatically. As security escorted them out later, Mom paused at the door. Alexander, I'm so sorry we never saw. It's okay, Mom. Sometimes the biggest successes are the quietest ones. After they left, I sat at my desk, looking at the family photo from last Christmas. Marcus standing proud in his banker's suit, me in the background with my modest life. Tomorrow, he'd check into rehab. Tomorrow, the family dynamic would forever change. But tonight, for the first time in years, they finally saw me, really saw me, and maybe that was worth more than any beach house could ever be. 3 months after the revelation in my office, I stood on the deck of my beach house, watching the sunset paint the ocean gold. The sound of children's laughter drifted up from the guest house where Sarah and the kids had settled into their new routine. My phone buzzed, a progress report from the rehabilitation center. Marcus was doing well, better than expected. 90 days sober, actively participating in therapy, and finally confronting the demons that had driven him to gambling and theft. Mr. Davidson, Thomas's voice came through my earpiece. Your parents are here. These Sunday visits had become a new tradition. At first they'd been awkward, filled with apologies and attempts to understand how they'd missed so much. Now they were different. Real. Send them up. Mom and Dad looked more relaxed than I'd seen them in years. The weight of maintaining Marcus's facade had aged them. Its removal had given them new life. Alexander, Mom hugged me tightly. She'd stopped calling me Alex after learning about my success, as if finally seeing me as my own person deserved the full name. We brought dinner. From that little Italian place you own downtown, Dad added with a slight smile. He was still getting used to discovering how many businesses in the city belonged to his younger son. We settled on the deck, the ocean breeze carrying away the last of the day's heat. Below, Sarah was teaching the kids to build sandcastles on our private beach. Marcus called this morning. Mom said, carefully unpacking the food. He sounds different. He is different. I confirmed. The doctors say he's making exceptional progress. He's finally dealing with the pressure he put on himself, trying to live up to expectations. Dad's hand trembled slightly as he poured the wine. Our expectations. We did that to him. To both of you, you did what you thought was right. I said quietly. But maybe now we can all do better. The bank board called me yesterday. Dad continued. Asked if I knew my son was buying controlling interest in 3 more financial institutions. I smiled. 4 actually. The 4th deal closes tomorrow. You're bigger than First Capital now, aren't you? There was a note of pride in his voice that once had been reserved only for Marcus. The banking division is. But it's just a small part of what we do. I pulled out my tablet, showing them the latest project. We're launching a new security protocol next month. Government contract, it'll change how classified information is protected globally. Mom touched the screen gently. All those hours in the basement, you were building this future. While we were pushing you to be more like your brother. Dad's voice cracked. You were already so much more. The sound of footsteps made us turn. Sarah stood in the doorway, sand still clinging to her sundress. Sorry to interrupt, she smiled. The kids wanted to say goodnight to Uncle Alexander. My nieces and nephew bounded onto the deck, sandy feet and all, wrapping me in fierce hugs. They'd adapted to the changes better than anyone, accepting their temporary home and their father's absence with remarkable resilience. Did you check the special account? I asked Tommy, the oldest at 8. He nodded excitedly. My coding project earned 10 more points. And Katie's math scores went up too. The merit system I'd created rewarded their academic achievements with points they could exchange for treats and privileges. Already their grades had improved dramatically. That's wonderful. I gave them each a high five. Remember, when your dad comes home, he'll need your help staying strong. Being smart and successful is the best way to show him how. After the children left, Sarah lingered. Marcus asked about the house today. The one you promised. It'll be ready when he is. I assured her, but he needs to earn it this time. Really earn it. He's different now, she said softly. He talks about you differently. About everything differently. Success does that, Dad observed. Changes how you see the world. We just didn't see Alexander's success, because it didn't look like what we expected. Mom reached for my hand. The night you showed us your office, I couldn't sleep. Kept thinking about all the times we dismissed your work. Your choices. How many dinners did we spend praising Marcus while you sat quietly, running an empire we couldn't see? It doesn't matter now. I squeezed her hand. What matters is moving forward. Marcus will have his fresh start. The kids have their trust funds. And you, I smiled. You finally know who your sons really are. Both of them, Dad added firmly. Not just the one we could understand. As if on cue, my phone buzzed again. A message from Marcus. Board approved my return to work under supervision. Thank you for not giving up on me, little brother. I showed them the message. Mom wiped away tears. You know, Dad said thoughtfully. I always thought I knew what success looked like. Corner office, executive title, country club membership. But you built something bigger than that. Something real. And Marcus will too. I replied, just differently this time. Honestly, this time, the sun had set completely now, leaving us in the soft glow of the deck lights. Below, the ocean whispered secrets to the shore. In the guest house, my nieces and nephew were probably already dreaming of their father's return. I had dinner with the governor last week. I mentioned casually. He's interested in implementing our security systems statewide. Dad nearly choked on his wine. The governor? Right after I met with the defense secretary about the new protocols, I kept my tone light, enjoying their amazement. The house they wanted to take. I bought it with the profits from one minor government contract. And Marcus wanted. Mom shook her head. We all thought. You thought what you were trained to think. I finished for her. That success wears a certain suit, works in a certain office, follows a certain path. But sometimes, I gestured to the ocean. My house, the empire I'd built. Sometimes it looks like this. Sarah excused herself to check on the kids, leaving me with my parents under the stars. The same stars I'd watched as a teenager, coding late into the night, dreaming of exactly this future. We're proud of you, son, Dad said suddenly, his voice rough with emotion. Not because of what you built, or what you own, but because of how you built it. How you protected your brother. How you stayed true to yourself when we tried to make you something else. The funny thing is, I replied, I never needed you to be proud. I just needed you to see me. Really see me. Mom wiped away more tears. We see you now, Alexander. We finally see you. The night wrapped around us like a comfortable blanket. The sound of waves below punctuating our newfound understanding. Tomorrow I would run my empire, manage global security, and continue reshaping the financial world. But tonight, I was simply a son whose parents finally understood that success doesn't always wear a banker's suit. Sometimes it wears a programmer's determination, and carries the quiet power of redemption. 6 months after the revelation, I stood at the gates of the rehabilitation center, waiting. Marcus emerged, looking different, Mike's lighter somehow, as if the weight of his facade had finally lifted. No designer suit today, just simple casual wear and clear eyes. Ready? I asked, opening the car door. He paused, taking in the Aston Martin, one of many things about my life he'd never noticed before. Alexander. Save it. I smiled. We've got somewhere to be. The drive was quiet, but comfortable. Not the strained silence of competition that had marked our relationship for decades, but the peaceful quiet of understanding. I took the coastal road, watching his expression as we passed my beach house and continued down the shore. Where are we going? He finally asked. You'll see. 3 minutes later, I turned into a private drive. A modern masterpiece of glass and steel rose before us, waves crashing against the cliffs below. Better view than my house, just as I'd promised. What is this? Marcus whispered. Your fresh start. I handed him a folder. Deeds in your name. But there are conditions. He opened it with trembling hands. I don't deserve this. No. I agreed. Not the old you. But this isn't about deserving. It's about becoming. Inside the house, Sarah and the kids waited with our parents. The children launched themselves at Marcus, who caught them with tears in his eyes. 6 months was a long time in a child's world. But they'd grown stronger, smarter, more resilient. The trust funds, I explained, will remain under independent management. You'll return to work next week, at one of my banks, under supervision. Weekly counseling continues for a year. Random drug and gambling tests. One slip, and everything reverses. Understand? Marcus nodded, still holding his children. I understand. Your old office is gone. I continued, along with the temptations and pressures that came with it. Your new position focuses on family accounts, helping people build legitimate wealth. No more high-risk trading. Thank you, he whispered. Mom and Dad watched from the sidelines, their expressions a mix of joy and lingering regret, for all the years they'd misunderstood their sons. There's one more thing. I pulled out another folder. The evidence, everything I collected about the gambling, the theft, the cover-ups. It's all yours. Marcus stared at me. Why? Because you need to keep it. Look at it when temptation hits. Remember what you almost lost. Remember who you don't want to be anymore. Sarah touched my arm. You saved our family. No, I corrected gently. I just showed everyone the truth, including the truth about success. Dad stepped forward. Both my sons are successful now, just differently. Speaking of success, I smiled. Tommy, show your dad what you built. My nephew proudly demonstrated the simple coding project he'd created during his father's absence, a basic program that tracked his dad's sober days and sent encouraging messages. Marcus's eyes filled with tears again. You learned coding. Uncle Alexander taught us that success isn't just about money. Katie piped up. It's about building things that matter. The ocean stretched endlessly behind us through the floor-to-ceiling windows. 6 months ago, they'd tried to take my house. Now, standing in this new home, we were finally building something stronger than property. We were building truth. The house is beautiful, Marcus said quietly. But I think I finally understand what real wealth is. I nodded. It's not the corner office. Or the title, he added. Or even the beach view. I finished. It's this: family, truth, redemption. Mom wiped her eyes. And seeing people for who they really are. Speaking of which, I checked my watch. I have a video call with the president in an hour. Something about national security protocols. Marcus laughed. A genuine laugh. Not the dismissive one from before. My little brother, the tech genius. I should have seen it sooner. We all should have, Dad said. But we see it now. As I left them to settle into their new home, I paused at the door. The sun was setting, painting the scene in gold. A family rebuilt, a brother redeemed, and parents who finally understood that success stories come in many forms. Sometimes they wear banker suits, sometimes they write code in basement rooms, and sometimes, if you're very lucky, they build something bigger than houses or empires. They build second chances. The end.